From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher. Their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicki Fisher. Our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Skripchuk. And our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them, and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team.
Captain's Log Supplemental.
Miss Vicki.
Yes, sir.
You know what?
What?
I've been thinking about this Sentinel system.
Yeah. Tell me about the Sentinel system.
So what I was thinking was, we have the one car that's got the aim dash that's slowing us down. Because installing the aim dash is actually, it probably is easy, but it's quite hard the first time. And we haven't figured that out yet. The Sentinel system is really easy to set up. So what I was thinking was, why don't we put it in the Lemons car? And we'll worry about the aim data information separately. And we'll kind of break it down into a project. Because then we'd have the motorsports video system that we really, really want, and we'd be able to stream it. We just won't have the data inside, but we have the data outside, so we can combine them later. But I think that's a really good solution.
So what does this Sentinel system do?
Well, if it had the aim data, it would have all the data on the screen, and you could see all their telemetry and everything live. But we'd be able to not only record it for viewing after the race, but we could actually watch our car during the race.
Ooh, like on the monitor and everything?
On a monitor, if you were at home and I was at a track, or if you were at the track and I was at home, depends on who gets the little short straw, but we'd be able to watch each other.
It's something I've always wanted to do.
And you know what? If you're driving, you know what you can do on the Sentinel system?
What's that?
You can communicate to me with your hands, and I can't do a thing about it.
Even better.
So, if you need to give a wave or a Jersey wave, whatever you need, we could save it and see it on the screen. And then you can have up to 3 different cameras, and it'll have picture in picture. You'll have the basic main shot out the front window, and then 2 cameras where you put them wherever you want. One could be on the driver, or one could be on the rear view. It's kind of cool.
Then we can upload it onto YouTube.
We could bore millions of people on YouTube.
I love it.
All right. Very well. You know what the only downside I see about this?
What?
Your mom and my mom are going to be panic-stricken the entire weekend watching this thing to see if everything's going well.
This is true.
We probably shouldn't tell them.
I like the idea of having a Sentinel.
Mm-hmm. Well, luckily we have maybe 2. Depends on how things go. We're going to try. All right. That sounds like a plan. That's the project. We got to get that ready for the next race.
Sounds great.
All right. Very well. Thank you, ma'am.
I say let's just take them in. Let's take them in order. Let's talk about dealing mentally with a mistake on the track.
Right.
I mean, I've never made one, but I'm sure I'll talk about some of the ones you've made.
Well, just imagine somebody else makes a mistake,
No, this is the intro. We just did the intro.
That's right. We did. So, Ben, this is something you don't know anything about.
Sure.
How do you, deal with things mentally, which you're going to say, oh, I'm just an all-around dumb Latin major, but how do you deal? And then if you were ever to make a mistake, just to envision that someday this happens. That
I've seen people make mistakes. I've seen people do it. Yeah.
Okay. How would you deal with them? I mean, these can be little mistakes or big ones. The big ones you tend to have a lot longer time to think about mentally.
There's usually a big dwell time in between the biggest mistakes.
Yeah. But little ones matter.
I got banned from my series for a year, or I wrecked my car real bad.
Yeah, my car does not roll. Yeah.
Yep.
So what do you think? What do you think the key things are? Because I mean, everybody's going to make a mistake except for dominating with Dawson. But that's why you have a shirt.
I think there's 2 keys that are most immediate and most important. the number one key is to get your shit back together and get on with the program.
Mm-hmm.
The number two key is to immediately, once you're back in the game and kind of back to blocking and tackling, which hopefully you're good enough to driving this blocking and tackling, and you have enough depth to think for just a second, don't dwell on it, but think, what happened? Because I'm coming back around in 2 minutes. I'm going to see this again in 2 minutes. What happened there? At least do a small amount of analysis to try to understand what happened to you. Maybe some root cause analysis, like, the car stepped out because I was trying to pass that guy and it finished my point by pass. And I was just a little bit offline. So, I mean, try to do some rationalizing, understanding what put you in that bad spot or what forced the error. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What shouldn't you do?
Well, you shouldn't let it drag you down. You shouldn't beat yourself up about it and let your driving suffer for the rest of the thing, mm-hmm. for the rest of the time. Well, I guess we're talking about minor mistakes here, just kind of a hiccup. When bigger mistakes happen, like something that takes you off the track and your car might stall out, you got time to think about it while you're waiting for traffic to come by you till the corner station tells you it's good to go. You might have a little more time to think about, like, why am I off of the track and not driving right now? And in some of those situations, you might have a little bit more time to kind of get a picture together. And often after one of those, especially if you're at a DE or a lemons race and you've had a big enough disruption where you had to, come off the track and come back on, or get yourself turned back around and get going again, you're likely going to have to come in and talk to the people in the pits. At a DE, they want to make sure your car's not messed up. They want to make sure you didn't, mess up your daily that you're at their DE in, or they'll tell you what is wrong. I guess they're not really making sure you didn't mess up your car. They're going to report to you whatever your car condition is and whether or not you're able to keep running. Like, let me pull some of this grass out of your fender, and then you keep going, or now you need to take that in there and fix that oil leakage from knocking your hole in your oil pan, that kind of thing. So
yeah,
there are definitely different degrees. And if your car's going home, on a wrecker, then you got plenty of time to think. But I think in general we're talking about just kind of the run of the mill stuff, which is the more common occurrence, right, Bill?
I hope so.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, I think that some of the bad things to do is just start dwelling on it and start beating yourself up about it. I think if you're pushing hard enough, you're going to make some mistakes. And I don't cotton to that idea, like, if you never go off track, you're not trying hard enough, because you could be trying pretty hard within the confines of the track and never mess up. But also, I mean, you are, I think also the other side of that coin is you are going to eventually mess up if you're pushing hard enough. But so I think you should be driving along and seeing a fair amount of mistakes as you push yourself. Yeah, I don't think it's something that she should let drag you down or let you, make you question your worth or how much you belong on track if you make mistakes.
Or affect the rest of your lap.
Yeah, don't even let it mess up the rest of your lap. I mean, if you've made a significant enough mistake and gotten out of shape enough, and hopefully if you're driving a DE, you're not at the time in your own laps anyway, or being that concerned about it. But, if you're in a race situation and you messed up and you lost 5 spots, it's just time to start thinking about getting them back and moving on. If you lost 5 spots to people you just passed, based on your skill and pace, and then you temporarily lost your skill and pace for a second, get it back, put them back down, and keep going.
Every mistake is a learning experience.
Absolutely. I think it's so important to learn, because also sometimes the other side of a mistake is, the car stepped out there, but maybe if I kept the wheel open and realized maybe that's a place where I can do that. You know what I mean? I mean, sometimes a mistake will show you a truer, better path.
Right.
To learn from mistakes and realize, like, oh, hey, that almost worked. I mean, sometimes a mistake is one of those, oh, hey, that almost worked kind of things, which is pretty rad.
True. Miss Vicki, have you ever made a mistake on track?
Oh yeah, I made lots of mistakes, but I think the key is to realize it's a mistake, admit it's a mistake, even if it's a big mistake. You should own that mistake and learn from it, because if you deny the fact that you did it or make excuses for it, you're just not going to learn from it.
Yeah, I kind of got it. I don't have the exact same kind of thing, but I think we talked about this most recent race I did, where I went into a brake zone and the brakes really weren't there the first lap it happened. I should have paid more attention to it. And I kind of chalked it up to, I don't know what that was. I didn't do enough analysis quickly enough. So the next time I came around, I did the same thing, but I was already inside trying to pass somebody with somebody else. I couldn't avoid it. So I ended up hitting somebody because I didn't have enough brakes. I just didn't realize fast enough that's what was happening. So I think it's important to analyze anything that's out of place.
Right.
I should have done a better job of.
I know a lot of people I have met people and heard stories of people that come off the track and even in an accident where something has happened, you know, be honest with yourself about that accident. And I mean, the best thing you could do is, first of all, if you are in an accident with anybody, is fess up to it, fess up the mistake, you know, for sure. Because, you know, once, you know, stories do get out, then it does kind of make you seem like that jerk on track. But I mean, if you come clean with everything and you know, listen, people are going to make mistakes on track. There's going to be accidents, but to deny the mistake and embrace the denial, you're not going to grow from it. You're not going to learn from it.
I think what you're saying is equally true in every other facet of life as it is in racing, but it's also very important in racing. I'll tell you, in my own career and work, I found it so much easier to mess up and say, "Hey, boss, I just messed this up. Next time I'll know not to do whatever it is."
Right.
I'm too dumb and lazy to live with a lie. Like, I'll never pull it off. I'll forget about it. Like, at least in my own life.
Right.
It's much more convenient, and I feel like much more of a person of honor if I just own up to stuff I've messed up and then hopefully move on from it. I've never had a boss go, "You what?" Like, it's never happened. If you go own up to it, your bosses are generally going to be like, "Okay, cool," you know. But if you try to hide it, you're going to catch the wrath of God. I guess I've never tried because I've been self-aware enough my whole life to know not to try to lie. Yeah. Not good at stuff like that. But it's I think it served me well in racing life and work life and just living life and relationships in general. But I think you're right. It's, I think, a very important part of racing and becoming a more developed, I'm going to use the term self-actualized racer, which just means knowing where you fit in as far as where you are on your skill arc, where you are with your current field. I think it's so important to sort of be real with yourself and know where you fit in and how often you make mistakes is part of that. And that's an ever-changing picture, I would say. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And people have been where you are. So if, you know, there have been people that have had accidents 3 wide, you know, you just say, hey, you know, if you're overdriving the car, you fess up to overdriving the car, and you're just like, listen, I overdrove the car. This is what happened, you know, and this is what I'm learning from it.
Yeah. I think,
because if you become that person that's out there and you're racing and you become known as that person that overdrives the car, people will not have you on their team because you will destroy their cars. So it's best that if you happen to enter into that situation, that you say, holy crap, what can I do to fix this situation? I did overdrive the car. This is what I learned from it.
Right.
You know,
let that team know you understand how you messed up, because they might not let you come back. And if you don't, I mean, we've definitely
and it's not just that team
and stuff like that. Yeah,
and it's just not that team, because that something like that can travel through a circuit, and you can be known as that person. Not only the riskiest people will have you on their team, and that may only be for a short time. But you don't want to become one of those people in the track. You know, if you're going to overdrive a car, overdrive your own car.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I agree.
One thing we didn't talk about.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not making mistakes on track, that's equally a problem.
That is equally a problem.
I would say, I don't know. I'm pretty sure Bill's had watch a fair amount of my driving. I'm not sure if you had, Vicki, but when I drive, I am constantly making mistakes because I'm constantly asking for a little bit more than I know the car can give me. So I'm constantly forcing little errors. So you watch me drive, my hands are kind of moving around at the wheel a lot, but because I know how much of a mistake I can get away with and trying to push a little bit harder. So yeah, if you watch me drive and I'm making corrections all the time, that's me pinging from mistake to mistake the whole lap. So I'm constantly forcing mistakes, but not everybody's style is like that. But I'm kind of an explorer. Like, I want to know. I'm always trying to feel out how much I can get away with, and I'm consciously asking the car for more, knowing that I'm going to have to kind of make a little correction. But that's my style. It's not everybody's style is like that, but mine is. Do you think, Bill?
I do. I think Vicki and I are on the other side.
Right. Well, it all depends on how much risk you're taking on track too with that person's car. You know, like to the degree of risk that you're taking.
Yes, I'm not saying we're necessarily
Right.
wrong. I think you don't push the car
Me?
into a mistake very often.
Right. Right.
It's not smart. You need to kind of build a pretty good database of what to expect from a car before you start doing it that way. But that's kind of where at least at this moment, kind of the style of driving I do. I have a teammate who's way smoother than me and at least as fast. So it's not for everybody. It's just my particular thing is I'd always rather be kind of sliding the car a little bit and always kind of habitually line stepping. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just didn't want people to think that the goal is do not ever make a mistake on track, because
no.
Exactly. You're right. Then that's what I'm saying. Like, I think once you get pretty good at this, you are kind of always testing the limits. You're always sort of trying to find boundaries and seeking it. And that is where a lot of mistakes will come from. You're like, hey, maybe I can do so and so. And then whoops, maybe that was one toke over the line, and you kind of find that. And if you're good at feeling the minute differences between I nailed it and one toke over the line, that one toke over the line probably not going to put you in the wall. You know what I mean? It's like, ooh, I'm going to make an ugly corner. I'm not going to hit the apex that way. You know what I mean? Like your small incremental errors are not going to have huge consequences. It's just like, whoops, I thought I could break it to 2.5. I tried it. I got to go back to the 3 because when I did the 2.5, it put me way out toward the edge of the track on the exit. You know what I mean? So we're not talking about catastrophic consequences, hopefully, once you get fairly developed at this. But yeah, push yourself to make mistakes. I wouldn't say push yourself hard enough to end up off the track.
Yeah,
it's kind of that's where I would put this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, small excursions into new territory. Great.
Yes.
Huge steps in one step. Not so good.
Let's say, like, for example, stuffing your Spec E30 into the wall during competition school. Bad idea.
That's bad idea.
It's not the goal of competition school. I mean, I've only done it once, but do
you have to do it again? You do not.
I do not, and I don't believe in all the reading material and videos that I watched. I don't believe that was on there as one of the goals.
Exactly. Speaking of that, that's a guy who had plenty of time to think about his mistake. He had all day of comp school. He wasn't getting to finish.
He did
all the time. Anyway, so that's the extreme end of mistake making.
Yeah, let's not go there. That's not the goal.
Nope.
Yep.
All right, we'll talk about making mistakes on another Dominating with Dawson coming soon.
We'll make plenty more mistakes between now and then. And we'll have plenty to talk about.
We probably
Definitely will.
Thank you, Ben.
Thanks for having me.